What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Well Man's Podcast. My name is Brian Brosey. I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Keone Tira. Keone, how are you today?
Doing wonderful. Hey, everybody. Brian and I want to talk today about detoxing. Actually, it's springtime right now, so here in the Northern Hemisphere, so a lot of people want to do spring detoxes, and I see that all over the internet,
Yes.
like do your detox, and they're peddling their favorite potion, powder, or pill to help you to help you detox, or their number one gold standard detox plan. So let's get straight to the point on this, Brian. What the hell are they talking about?
Yeah.
Like what are they talking about detoxing? No, but in all seriousness, I mean, the best way to detox your body is to make sure that your normal endogenous detox mechanisms within your own body are working appropriately, right?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so you got to think about, well, am I peeing appropriately, drinking plenty of water? Am I pooping appropriately? Am I sweating, at least once every few days? Am I getting enough sleep? And not to mention, what is my, mental, emotional state? That can be toxic for people. So think about like your endogenous detox mechanisms being the mainstay. And I know we're kind of making fun of it, but the pills and the potions and all these detox things, they're really, like, I would say, on the scheme of things, like very, very minor in helping people detox, and most of them don't do anything and can make you worse. But I just want to give a shout out to, since we're talking about detoxing, and part of detoxing is practicing avoidance, right? So what I mean by that is, if you want to make sure your body is detoxing, well, don't expose yourself to a bunch of freaking chemicals, and we'll go over ways to do that. Anyway, I want to give a shout out to one of my favorite mentors. His name is Dr. Walter Crinny, and he just passed away. He passed away at a relatively young age. He's a ND, one of the best environmental docs out there, and a really incredible mentor to me. But
when you say environmental doc,
yeah,
what does that mean exactly?
just think about a doctor who is all about environmental medicine, where he's talking about where you test for heavy metals, you test for things, and you do certain strategies like what we're going to talk about to help you detox on a daily basis. So he's kind of one of my heroes that taught me, at least in medical school, to really think about how to go about detoxing a patient, and how ridiculous it is to think that you can just detox by drinking your favorite juice or using a powder or a pill and thinking that's going to take care of it,
Yeah.
So
what's so funny is often those people aren't doing the natural ones that you mentioned up front with the flat tummy tea or whatever it may be.
Right. So just think about, like, what can you do to optimize your endogenous detox mechanisms and the organs that help you detox within your body. And you really want to take care of these organs are all your organs of elimination, right? So thinking about your lungs, especially your liver, and thinking about your kidney function, right? So one of the things that I tell people, there's no point in taking this, I don't know, green powdered drink or whatever, if in the evenings you're drinking, 2 or 3 glasses of alcohol. You're just adding a toxin on it. It'd be best not to even take that green drink and minimize the alcohol consumption. It's like that's where we need to go with it. But anyway, I wrote a email newsletter a while back, and I wanted.
How can people sign up for that, Keone?
They can go to.
Oh, come on, man! I put the T on the ball. the ball on the T.
I'm trying to. They can go to my clinic website, nhcnc.com, and there's an email listserv. They can just get on there. There's other ways to do it. I think you can get through it through my Twitter account or whatever. But yeah, I'm pretty bad about about directing people there. Because most of the time I put it on my well plan for my patients, so I don't really put it out on social media. But they can sign up for that, and most of the information they're going to get there, they're going to get through me and you anyway on the Wellman's podcast. So
Absolutely.
we talk about a lot of this stuff. But let me give you some examples of patients I've seen over the years, right? So the first patient that I've seen, and these are made up names if you can't tell, Toxic Tom, right? So Toxic Tom, he was an actual patient, not an actual name, but actual patient who came to me and claimed, he needed to do a detox. And why? Because he just didn't feel well and he's overweight. So he's like, come on, man, give me some type of juice or pill or something to do it. And I think he was like, what about this noni juice? Or maybe it was pomegranate juice. I forget. And he thought that this would help get him back on track. And me and you know that this is just a big marketing scheme. A lot of this noni juice and pomegranate juice, there's maybe some benefits to it, but usually it's just a glorified source of sugar, really.
Mm-hmm. It goes back to kind of, yeah. And it goes back to kind of what you were alluding to at the beginning, I feel like, where it's like, how the hell are you going to detox your body by adding more? Like, how does that make sense?
And you bring up a great point there, right? Because one of the ways we toxify our bodies is by over-consuming all this stuff, calories and juices and all this stuff. So yeah, you're exactly right. Anyway, he really thought, and again, I have patients like this, he really thought that taking this noni juice, because whoever was peddling it to him said, yeah, this shit will help you lose weight. So he was like, and just wanted to ask me about this. It was interesting though. While I was taking his history, I found out that he worked in a dye finishing factory, right? Mm. So there now, if you want to detox, like without, you want to start kind of there or start at your home. And one of the things about him was I asked him if there are all these kinds of smells, like volatile organic smells and, thinners or whatever. He goes, oh yeah, the factory always has this weird smell, and, certain places there's a bunch of dust there. So, one of the best things he can do to detox, which he wasn't doing, because I don't know what it is about some of these guys in these factories. It's like a rite of passage not to wear your protective gear,
Yeah.
And that was, so that was the main thing. Like, dude, wear your protective gear, wear your mask, wear your goggles, that type of thing. And it's really going to help you quite a bit. And we do know in research that a lot of volatile organics out there can cause weight gain. Okay. They can cause you to gain weight. And they act as like what we call endocrine disruptors, where it just messes up your weight thermostat and everything else. So that's one way that he could detox. And so needless to say, we talked about lifestyle stuff. We talked about how can we enhance his eliminative functions using his protective gear, that type of thing. And that's where we started. And that's where we should start. And guess what? He saved a whole lot of money on not spending it on noni juice or whatever. There's a different type of juice out every few months now. Like,
absolutely.
Some type of tropical juice out there that's usually highly sweetened or whatever. And usually it has it's backed by some doctor, has a picture of a doctor. Oh, Dr. who's like saying, this thing is a cure-all. It did everything for me. Even to the point, Brian, that people are saying that it cures cancer. I mean, I can't get over this crap. I mean, it's just like unfreaking believable,
Yeah.
So anyway, that's one patient where, we just had to kind of reset back to go back to the basics.
Mm-hmm. Now, Keone, in my home, if I'm looking to detox my home, what are some things I can do? Like open up the windows?
Mm-hmm. You hit it right. Yeah, you hit it right, the nail on the head, man. Exactly. So couple things that most people don't do is every day open your windows. Why would you do this? Because indoor air is inherently more polluted than outdoor air. Of course it depends, but in general, indoor air is more polluted than outdoor air. So open your windows every day. Change your filters in your HVAC unit once a month. Here's another hint for that you can do at home. When you are cooking, this is a big source of contaminants. When you're grilling or cooking on an oven or stove, right? If you're over it and you're smelling the fumes come off of that food, whatever it smells like, and it's smoky, you're getting toxins, right? So put on your vent fan on your range.
I'm in a toxic smokehouse when I'm cooking, apparently. Okay.
Well, yeah,
turn the fan on.
that's what, right. So it's like, that's one form of exposure. So the biggest thing about detoxing is practicing avoidance, really.
Yeah.
Like, what can you do to avoid your exposure? Honestly, if you live in a place where you're constant, or buy like herbicides and pesticides out there, if you have to do it, wear your protective gear. Preferably you don't do that, because why? It not only is it poor for the environment, but it's definitely not good for you, and it's not good for your neighbor. It's not good for the dog that may come over there and roll in your grass. It's like that type of thing. Those are all ways to just use common sense with this. Plus, part of global detox to help everybody is to think about what your carbon footprint is and how you're contributing to the pollution on our planet. So I even will go over that with some people. Like think about locally and then think about globally and what your impact is on that. So recycling is part of helping detox the planet, that type of thing. Here's another patient, Brian.
Yeah.
She was funny as anything too. She made me laugh, but but we're gonna call her Betty Cosmetic. All right.
Okay.
So she wanted to do a detox for the same reasons as Toxic Tom, because she was a little bit overweight and she just didn't feel well and all this stuff. And again, she wanted this magical fat loss pill. She heard that I deal with weight loss all the time, so she's like, well, maybe this dude has a pill and maybe a natural pill. She didn't want to be on a pharmaceutical drug, and she wanted to be on. It was a few years back.
If only we had that pill, dude, we would not be doing this podcast.
Well, again, so the pill she wanted, she was specific because she heard about it on Dr. Oz.
Oh, okay.
About the green coffee bean extract helping with weight loss,
Yeah, I've heard that one too.
Right. So there are some studies, they're not great, that show that it may help with fat burning. Again, if it does help with fat burning, you're not going to notice it. You're just not going to notice it unless you get the lifestyle stuff in order, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And so again, we went back to the lifestyle stuff, but she's like, well, I'm just worried about I want something to help me lose weight, and I'm worried about exposure and all this. And the reason why I call her Betty Cosmetic, because she came in and she was caked with makeup. From her whole face was with makeup, and she loved her cosmetics, So we went over that, probably one source of contaminants that may be causing her, her feeling the way she is her cosmetics. So I referred her to something called cosmeticsbase.com or EWG, environmentalworkinggroup.org. It's a website that you can go there and check out all your cosmetics, and you can make sure that they don't have all these chemicals in there that potentially can be act like endocrine disruptors and possibly have negative health effects, and then possibly cause weight gain or have heavy metals or anything like that. By the way, some of these cosmetics are a significant source of heavy metal exposure. All right. So that was our strategy. Go through your cosmetics, try to get the ones that have kind of the green light on them. You'll see it when you go through that, and use the ones that just haven't, that are good for you. I mean, I tell a lot of my patients, if you're going to put some makeup on or whatever you're going to put on, deodorant, whatever the cosmetic is, even toothpaste, shampoo, or whatever, I mean, you really honestly ought to be able to eat it and be safe, right? So, if you you really should. You should be able to eat it and be safe, because if you put anything on your skin, it's getting absorbed right through your skin.
Right.
So that includes everything, deodorants and everything you put on your skin, perfumes and all that type of stuff. So
that's a really good point. I never thought about it that way, just that you should be able to eat it. And then you walk through those aisles at Walmart and it's like, do not eat this, call 1-800.
Right.
Child was poisoned if you eat this tube.
Yeah, right. This is very poisonous, but rub it all up under your armpit. You'll be great.
Make sure you absorb it. Good.
Mm-hmm. So that's where we went, that's where we went with her, as far as where can she reduce her toxic burden.
Yes, that's a great example of, again, doing a detox by just doing less.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, absolutely.
What was the name of the first website, Keone?
So it's called
Cosmetic.
cosmeticsdatabase.com.
Okay.
And it's the same website as ewg.org. So environmentalworkgroup.org. They're the same. You could go there. A lot of times I think on those websites, ewg.org, they'll even list like the dirty dozen vegetables, the ones that are most sprayed, and fruits. You can find a lot of good information on there.
Okay, awesome.
You know? So this is funny because I like making fun of this dude because he's my father, and also my mother, because I grew up with these two people. And anyway, I call my father Jimmy the Toe because he always gets a flare up of gout toe periodically, and based on the way he eats and the way he runs his life. So anyway, he's really funny because he's an example of what most people do, especially men who are just unconsciously just crazy, most men. And what he does is the way he detoxes, he doesn't even realize he does this, but he'll have continuous meal from like 5. He'll come home from work. He used to come home from work. He'll have continuous meal from 5 until 10 until he falls out in an insulin coma in bed. And then he gets up the next day and he hasn't taken any of his supplements all year. But since he feels fat and sluggish the next day, he starts taking all his vitamins because he thinks it's going to help detox what he did the night before because he overate, So that's kind of like his unconscious way. Whereas really, what's the best way to detox? Well, don't have continuous meal from 5 until 11. That's the way to do it. So that's his own bizarre detox. Like, well, if I just take my multivitamins, it will offset my negative lifestyle habits I do. And a lot of people do this.
Absolutely.
They're like, oh shit, I got to take my multivitamin because I fucked up, yesterday because I had 2 or 3 beers and I had a big pizza, and so I'm gonna take my multivitamin and then all's gonna be good, and that's the thinking that goes on there. Anyway, that was his detox prescription. Like, all right, stop eating every night, all night, have discrete meals. We talk about intermittent fasting, which by the way is one of the best ways to detox. Have discrete meals, put plenty of space between your meals so insulin levels come down, so you assimilate what you ate, only eat when you're hungry, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And make sure you're eating plenty of, your phytonutrients like in vegetables and fruit. And the next crazy person is my mother. As I grew up with her, she's interesting because she both my parents played a big role in where, driving me towards like becoming a natural doctor, natural practitioner, healthcare provider. But she did she did a lot of crazy stuff in the pursuit of health as we were growing up. And one of the things that she did, and this was a big thing that came out, I don't know, like in the 90s, maybe it's in the 80s. But anyway, the fad at the time was drinking like tons of carrot juice. You buy all these carrots. I think some people still do it. You buy tons of carrots. We used to have these big trash bags full of carrots, and you juice them. And then you take this juice, and it tastes sweeter than anything you've ever tasted when you get out all the juice out of the carrots. And then
just the carrot juice is super sweet.
The carrot juice, yeah. You drink this, and basically in one glass, you basically have the juice of like 20 carrots in there that has tons of sugar. So of course I'm young, I don't know any better. I'm looking, my parents for guidance, and so she has me and all 3 of my siblings drinking this shit, and then after 2 months, we're all turned orange. And not only did we turn orange, we all put on about 10 to 20 pounds from drinking this juice.
Wow.
Because it's just sugar. It's just basically sugar. It has some phytonutrients in there. And then the reason why we know we had phytonutrients in there, because there is a condition that you will turn your skin orange if you get too much of these carotenoids, which are very high in carrots, and they will deposit in your skin. So you'll turn orange. You'll start looking like you had a wrestling match with a Cheetos bag after a while if you keep doing this.
See, everyone, Trump just likes carrots.
Well, that's what I thought too. I thought Trump was just,
the ultimate carrot fan.
Trying to be healthy. But to Trump and to my mother, don't do your carrot juice, because that is not a great way to detox. And in fact, it will make you more toxic because it will put on weight because you're getting a highly sugared liquid source. And it's better just to eat the whole fruit, the whole carrot or vegetable, and that's going to be a better way to detox. And that was part of her, advice that I, would give her now is, don't do that stuff. Think about common sense stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. I was eating breakfast with my girlfriend and her aunt the other day, and they were talking about, she saw on the doctor's celery juicing, essentially. So we got in a big conversation about juicing, and just, I don't understand why you wouldn't want the fiber to slow everything down and take the whole thing in with you. It's
right.
Just, it doesn't make sense.
How
healthy is Welch's grape juice versus how healthy is a grape?
Right. Exactly. It totally right. And, there is a time and a place for juicing. But again, I tell people, most likely the juices that you're doing are too sweet. Most people do not want to do a juice of celery and kale or celery, cabbage. I mean, it tastes awful. It's not very sweet, but that's the juice that will probably give you more bang for your buck than anything. But again, it's like really secondary to the basics, like making sure that your lifestyle stuff is in order.
Goes back to the less is more principle. You don't need to bust out the juicer. You just need to eat the damn apple.
Right.
Stop adding steps. We should simplify it.
Right. And think about, think about the big things. Like, how about just having discrete meals? That's probably going to be doing more for you, and put space between your meals. That's going to do more for you than your juicing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have one more person to go over because she made me laugh too. She's another patient. Again, the names are not real, but I call her Nancy Neurotic because Nancy came into me and she's like, Dr. Tita, the world is toxic. The world is toxic and we're all going to die. That's basically what she comes in with. There's off-gassing off the carpet. I work in a place where there's off-gassing off the rugs in the workplace. They just painted the place and, I'm going crazy. I'm having all these symptoms. I can't sleep at night. The world is falling apart. I feel awful, yada, 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 yada. And, and again,
what was the cure?
I'll tell you, we had a very long talk that day, and luckily, without making her feel bad or feel crazy, me and her ended up laughing at the end of it. But it's just like the most toxic thing about it was her stress about how toxic the world is. Yeah, she's right. We live in a toxic world, and we're all, me and you right now, you being in Florida, me being in Winston, I'm in my own house, you are too. You're being exposed to stuff, Brian, unfortunately. So am I right now. Yeah. And so what can we do to offset it is practice avoidance and not make ourselves crazy about thinking about how toxic we are and that we are going to get cancer in a year from now because of all our toxicity. There are ways to offset it. And that's, and that's the way it was. And she was really, really upset about, I don't know. I think she may have spent a day online, before she came to see me about how toxic the world is and all the pollution or whatever. And, and I'm not downplaying that she may have had symptoms from some of this off-gassing and stuff. But again, it's like, let's reset and go back to basics and let's get your mind right, because that's the most toxic thing that's going on right now. You're stressing over stuff that you have very little control over. Right. And that's part of a detox prescription. It really, for her, one of the best things she could do to detox was, how about going and taking long walks in nature and meditate a little bit, and reset to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, my patients are some of my, greatest teachers. And so, so a lot of these people really, really help me, realize how crazy this stuff is that we go out there. But, detoxing is useful in conventional medicine. Most of the time they don't even talk about detoxing unless you have acute exposure to something where you actually have symptoms. And some of my patients have had symptoms. So if you've been acutely poisoned to lead or to heavy metals or something, and you see it, you can test for it, you can find it in the blood, then absolutely you need to take something to get that out of there. This is especially important in kids because children are really more prone to the negative effects of, poisonous exposure from heavy metals or volatile organics. So it's really important with kids, whereas adults, our bodies detoxify better than especially young kids. So, back in the 70s, I think they stopped it. Back in the 70s, a lot of the houses, interior and exterior houses, were painted with lead paint. They don't do that anymore. But I live in an old house. My house was built in 1914. So, there's lead paint here. Well, lead paint kind of has like a sweet, kind of a sweetness taste to it. So, they'd find that kids would eat this, or just being exposed to it would get it in their bodies, and they'd have this awful, they were really would have symptoms from it. Now, I think a current exposure source where it's pretty bad is the whole Flint, Michigan water thing, where kids are really being exposed to high levels of lead in the water.
Yeah.
So what is the thing to do? Well, get them a better water source. Where's the lead coming from? Get rid of it. That's the type of thing. So that's why a lot of the paints today don't have lead in it. But just because they don't have lead in it doesn't mean you're not getting exposure from the off gas in the paints, because you still are. So there are better paints out there that don't that are low VOC paints that will decrease your exposure. So that's a way to detox. If you're going to paint something, try the low VOC paints instead of the high VOC paints. That's one way to help yourself with detoxing.
In conventional medicine, Keone, when you do have one of those acute situations where they are going to detox you, what are some of the ways that they would do that? I can assume the physical of like pumping the stomach sort of thing. But how I guess with medication.
So with medication, there are things that they can take both orally or intravenously that are called chelators, right? And chelators, I think chelate is, I don't know, Greek or Latin.
For like connect or something.
Yeah, for like grab. Okay. So a chelating type compound will grab these heavy metals, and then you can, poop them out. Get them out of your body. Once it will grab that out and help process it for you to get it out of the body.
Okay. Right. So are there foods that are higher in, I guess, chelating type nutrients that I can
There certainly are. There certainly are. So if you eat a high fiber diet, guess what? Lots of vegetables. Fiber actually keeps a lot of those heavy metals in the gut, so you can poop them out and doesn't let them get recycled back into the body. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do.
Okay. Another reason not to juice.
What's that?
Get the fiber. Another reason not to juice.
Well, absolutely. And then, but there are also phytonutrient compounds that aren't fiber that can also help. Okay. Mm-hmm. And one of them that we talk about a lot is curcumin. Curcumin, can act like a chelator. I think it will chelate iron out. So if you have, or will help chelate iron out. If you have lots of iron overload, like we talked about hemochromatosis. Yeah. Yep. Maybe dosing with curcumin will help, or turmeric will help with that. So it will chelate some of these metals out. And then, but really the main exposure for most people is not necessarily the heavy metals, but the volatile organics. So how can you do that? Because the volatile organics, if you're around it, it's getting absorbed into your skin, right? Mm-hmm. It's getting into your body. It's probably, your certain food sources. If you're not eating organic, you're probably getting a little bit more exposure. But the one way to help with that is to make sure you keep your liver healthy. What's one of the best ways to make sure you keep your liver healthy? How about minimizing alcohol, right? Or not doing alcohol as much, or not doing. Another way to keep your liver healthy is really going through your list of prescription meds and trying to reduce that if and when you can, because your liver has to detoxify all that. And it's as simple as thinking about, well, if your liver is constantly detoxifying, all these meds and what you're being exposed to, well, how is it doing with detoxification with, the exposure that you're getting out in the world?
Right.
So there's one way to think about that. And with your liver, that is the main, I would consider that the main detoxification organ, right? And it's really interesting the way the liver detoxifies stuff, because if you're exposed to a toxin, there's think about the liver doing 2 steps to detoxify things, right? Mm-hmm. So the liver can take a certain compound that may be toxic to the body, and in the first step of that detoxification process, it will add an oxygen molecule to it, right? Which then makes it kind of like a free radical, which then makes it highly reactive in the body, right? And if your step 2 detoxification process is not running well, that free radical compound that your body just made to process it, to get rid of it, can then wreak havoc in the body. So think about, like, if, I don't know, if you're exposed to, this happened to one of my patients before. If you, let's say you're foraging for mushrooms, which don't ever do this unless you really know what you're doing, and you find some mushrooms and you eat one that's poisonous. Well, if that step 2 detoxification process is not going along the way it should, that free radical that is made in that first process is like a nuclear bomb in your body. You will get so sick and possibly die from that. Yeah. You know, so step 1 process, and then step 2. So there are nutrients that you can take in step 1 and step 2 that allow those processes to run efficiently. So once you get through step 2, what step 2 does is it will then make that compound water soluble, right? So guess what happens then? Then, you know, or package it in such a way that it can be eliminated, either through the body, you know, through the gallbladder and bile, and then you can poop it out, or through the kidneys, right? So that you then can pee it out. And you can't pee it out of the kidneys if it's not water soluble. So step 2 process kind of does that. All right. So step 1 is like a it's like it helps condition that whatever compound it is so that it can be ready for the step 2 process, so then it can be eliminated. And there are nutrients that will help with that, right? So in step 1, certain nutrients like your B vitamins help that process run a little bit more appropriate. There are things like, there's an herb out there called milk thistle, really good for your liver, that can help that run a little bit. Your vitamin E, vitamin C's, a lot of things that are found in multivitamins. One of my favorite detox nutraceuticals is glutathione, specifically liposomal glutathione, because it's better absorbed. Step 2 would be things like your amino acids, glutamine, glycine, taurine, and then many of your phytochemicals out there that are found in like your cruciferous vegetables and spices help step 2 process go along. So you want to really keep your liver healthy. You know, if your liver's not healthy, guess what? I mean, you're just going to become more and more toxic, and if that liver becomes scarred and you get cirrhosis, then you're up for a liver transplant, and you don't want to be there. You know, if you can't find a liver, that's the end. I mean, you're out of here. You're dead. So you want to keep your liver very, very healthy. And one of the best ways to do that is practice avoidance. Like, really practice avoidance. Think about where your toxins are. You know, I'm going back to alcohol because I know I like a glass of wine, you know, so every so often, and I know most people do, and it's socially acceptable to drink. But we know without a doubt, alcohol is a known toxin. It is. It's a known toxin. And, you know, if you're having more than, you know, 1 drink a night, I would even say, you know, in my opinion, this is biased. I can't really say, you know, that this is, I can back this up with research, but in my opinion, more than 1 drink every few nights, I think you're overloading your liver, you know, and at the very least, if you're going to have your alcohol, follow it with water. Drink plenty of water to help you detox. You know? Yeah,
absolutely.
So there's an enzyme system in the body. I just don't want to go into this too much, but some people probably heard about this. The cytochrome P450 enzymes. They're proteins. They are found in high amounts in the kidneys, the lungs, and the liver. These are the enzymes that help you detoxify all the toxins that you're exposed to throughout the day, every minute of the day, and they keep you healthy. So you want to keep your lungs, kidneys, and liver healthy so that you can detox better. And again, it's endogenous detoxing, the detoxification that goes on every day, every minute, every second in your body is what you want to focus on. You don't want to focus on the exogenous stuff where let me take this pill, let me do this, let me do that, you know, let me eat this. You know, you want to focus on how you can improve the eliminative functions in your body better.
Well, even when we were talking about what they do conventionally, it still uses the liver. I mean, it's still the whole natural process is being used. It's just expedited.
That's right.
So yeah, it's very, yeah.
So back to the beginning, it's like, all right, are you drinking plenty of water, or do you prefer soda? If you prefer soda, you're getting more toxic. Drink water. You know, I have people say, well, water is toxic. You know, this is Nancy Neurotic here. Water is toxic. You can't, you know, it has fluoride in it, it has chlorine in it. You know, especially if you're on city water. You know, and no doubt she's right. She's right about that. But again, drinking city water as compared to soda and juice is much better for you. Okay, so let's go back to the basics. Yeah, if you can get a filter, drink filtered water, that's going to be better for you, no doubt. I get that. But if you're not drinking water, then, you know, I'd much rather you drink treated city water. You know, you may be getting a little exposure to stuff, but it's much healthier for you than drinking a highly sweetened, you know, carrot juice, in my opinion. You know.
Yeah.
So, by the way, during that time when my family was on this carrot juice fad, we all gained about 10 or 20 pounds, you know?
Yeah, you mentioned that.
And then we for some reason, we decided that orange juice was the way to go, and it put more weight on us. So just the juices are not good, you know? All right. Yeah. So anyway, endogenous versus exogenous detoxification. What are the ways that we can do, lifestyle things we can do to really help with detoxification? What are the most powerful things? Well, we talked about already intermittent fasting, you know, giving yourself a break between feeding times and calories, drinking plenty of water. Make sure that you are pooping. I mean, we did a podcast on constipation. You know, if you want to get an idea of the difficulty bowel function and bowel habits, just go into a public bathroom here in the U.S. and you'll see what a problem, you know, the bowel function of Americans are. And you really want to make sure.
You're talking about all the graffiti on the stalls?
Well, I'm talking, look, dude, I've been in a stall before and I hear people whimpering in the stall, you know, like, you know, where they're just struggling to eliminate, you know, and it's like, that should not be happening. You know, It should be a fairly easy process.
Yeah.
You know, so
you shouldn't have to write derogatory things on the walls or anything like that. It shouldn't be upsetting.
Yeah, no, exactly. You should not be in there where it's like, you know, it's just torturous for you to have a bowel movement. If it is, there's something going on, you know, and you're probably a little bit more toxic. But making sure that you're eliminating appropriately. Sweating is a great way to detox. You know, if you're working out, you know, break a sweat a little bit. That's a great way to detox. Drinking water, of practicing avoidance, wearing your protective gear, using natural products. If you're clean, you know, if you have cleaning products, use the natural stuff so you're not exposed to a lot of these other chemicals. You know, if you love grilling meat, you know, charred meat is a big source of carcinogenic compounds, you know, so maybe think about other ways of cooking to minimize the exposure of the charring process there. Opening your windows, cooking with vent fans on. You know, how about this? Drinking out of glass instead of plastic when you can, right? Mental detoxification. We're all exposed to stress. You know, going for long walks, thinking about, you know, positive stuff, taking the, you know, we talked about we had a guest on recently who talked about mental pauses to kind of reset yourself so you can be more conscious about what your actions are, you know, and then also think about, you know, honestly, if you know, I feel like I feel like part of our mission for all of us on this planet is to, you know, try to be the best human that we can, right? And I feel like part of that is, okay, well, think about globally, right? Like, how can you help your city recycle? We did a podcast on that. Think about, you know, how you can decrease exposure and not increase exposure to people that may walk by your yard. So maybe not spraying a bunch of stuff around, that type of thing. Eating organic if and when you can without being neurotic about it, you know? Right. It's interesting. I was thinking about how much plastic I accumulate on a daily basis. And you've seen stuff on like Instagram where these people like will collect the plastic that they accumulate, trashed over the week, you know, and they'll show you how much you've actually accumulated. Well, anyway, there's this great thing because most cities won't recycle like plastic packaging and stuff like that.
Right. Yep.
So the wraps on stuff, and it's like almost all food products, you have this plastic wrapping or plastic containers or, anything. But anyway, there's this great company called TerraCycle where you can get like this box for specifically like plastic packaging, and you can just collect it and put it in there. And once you fill it up, the postage is already on there, and you just send it off, and they take all this plastic packaging and recycle it, like make it into park benches or whatever. Wow. So they have a recycling stream for everything. So so I'm doing that now, and it's just amazing how much plastic I accumulate over the day with what I'm doing. Like if I have a protein bar, that's plastic wrapping there.
Yeah. Anyway, that's where, like when we were talking about the recycling episode, that's where it was like, oh, okay. At the beginning, it's like, I don't think I use that many. Everything I use, I reuse. Like I use a container that I'll wash out and reuse the next day or so on and so forth. But things like the wrappers and where the grape tomatoes come in their plastic bin, that's great.
Yeah, check it out, guys. TerraCycle. I mean, it's a great company, and the other thing about this company is it's profitable. I think it's traded on the stock market, and they say they're profitable, which is really, really cool. Yeah. And they'll recycle anything. And if you have like some sort of waste stream that you generate, it could be anything. I don't know, like wire mesh or whatever. They'll tell you and find a place and how to recycle it. Like they'll have a way to do that. So one of my goals, Brian, is to like try to eliminate, all the trash I accumulate as an individual and do it in a way that's kind of cost effective, And TerraCycle, it's one company that can help with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then the other thing, so I look at that as a way to help detoxify the planet, which I look is payback for me and future generations where, okay, so we're cleaning up things now. We're helping future people be more, and other animals be healthier, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't stand it, man. Every time I scroll through like Instagram and I see the freaking picture, maybe it's my feed, but I see the pictures of like the whale with like 80 pounds of plastic in its stomach, and I see the sea turtle with a plastic bag over its head. Fucking drives me crazy, man. It makes me feel like I don't know. It just makes me feel like an awful human, really.
Yeah, it's definitely good.
It's like, well, the good thing about it's motivating me to not only detox myself but help detox the planet.
Have you seen the Vice documentary about the trash island in the Pacific?
Yeah, it's just like unbelievable and this stuff ends up there. So how can we as individuals, get rid of this? And then you talk about the microplastics that you're probably breathing in and getting in and you have no idea about. But we live in a plastic world. And, if we can eliminate it and expose it, get rid of it appropriately, it's great.
Yeah.
The other thing I just want to bring up before we get off. So what about detoxing in death? Think about globally, right? One of the most hazardous waste places you can be is a graveyard. So in death, how can you detox? And there's like some really neat things out there, like the what we call the mushroom spore shrouds, right? You, like in death, you can be wrapped in a shroud and it will detoxify your body and break your body down. So you get recycled back into the planet, and you're not like full of formaldehyde and embalming fluid and all this other stuff, like, and you're not contributing in that way,
What type of mushroom do you think you would grow to be?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I'd hope that I would, break down appropriately that a tree can be planted over me. And so, who knows, but I don't know what any type of mushroom. I mean, there's mushrooms that will break down even oil spills and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're a great way to help detoxify the planet, but
I'm going to come back as a magic one.
Those are the best. Those are the best.
You can be a portobello. I'll be I'll be the one that people are poisoning themselves looking through the forest for.
Hey, man, we got it. We have to do a podcast on mushrooms. I'm telling you, man, that what they offer
Are we talking psilocybin, or are we talking
We're
all
talking
mushrooms?
about psilocybin. We're talking about all mushrooms. What they offer is pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah.
But detoxing in death, I think, is a consideration. I think we really ought to start thinking about that and not contribute to it. And plus, there's not enough land anymore to bury all of us in a graveyard, I kind of like the idea of, I don't know, having a tree use my nutrients to grow itself, Maybe I'll be like a giant, I don't know, oak tree or something.
It's got to be something with some wisdom to it. Yeah, it's got to be like an oak tree, something that grows hundreds.
I would love that. I would love that. But anyway, these are all ways to think about how to detox. But on an individual level, the number one thing I think is practice avoidance.
Yeah.
First.
Yep.
First. Way down the line, which is probably a waste of money anyway, maybe you can do your magic pill, potion, or powder or whatever.
Yeah, avoidance, and then go for a damn run, a sprint, a jog, something like that.
Yeah, sweat. Exercise is a great way to help you detox, both mentally and physically. It revs up your detoxification processes in your body. So,
yeah, absolutely. Anything
what else, Brian? Is there anything you want to add?
No, there's nothing I want to add. I don't think the waist trainer fits anymore. I think we could do a fitness fad episode completely, though.
We should do that. That's a great idea.
So I think we'll just save that one.
All right.
But that's, so definitely it seems like reduce what you're doing is kind of the first step to detoxifying, which is cost far less than the flat tummy tea or whatever drink they're selling you on Instagram.
Flat tummy tea, noni juice, your fat blaster potion. I mean, all that stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy what we do.
And I like that you have thought all the way to my death of how I will continue to detox the planet. So I just have such an appreciation for you, Keone.
Yes. Well, let's continue detoxifying our bodies. Hopefully death will be a long ways off for both of us.
And Keone will be a nice oak tree, and my luck, I'll be a fucking weed or something like that.
Hey, man, don't talk bad about weeds. We're going to talk about weeds at one episode, how good they are for you.
All right, everybody, be well, and we will talk and look forward to speaking with you next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.